We're at the top.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So anyway, we're meeting with the senator and the representative. We're going to introduce our newest master plan implementation committee member. We're going to approve the meeting minutes. We have an update regarding the Development Opportunities District. We're going to discuss the updates to the master plan implementation chart, and we're going to discuss the next meeting, new business and then old business, and of course, then we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. So I would like to welcome the senator and State Rep Oral. I'd like to first, we have to take roll call, and I'm Rodney Dixon, and here I'd like to see who else. We have Joseph Chamberlain.
Present.
Thank you. Rita Garbett.
Here.
Jack Lynch.
Here.
Ari Sky.
Present.
And we're missing a couple of members, it looks like. Patrick Marshall. Have not seen him yet. Oh, there he is. And Jim Rogers. Thank you very much. So Patrick and Jim, when you do me a favor and check in, unmute, and then check in. And I see that Representative Oral just checked in also.
Patrick Marshall, Master Plan Committee.
All right, thank you. And Jim, go ahead.
Jim Rogers, checking in.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So the genesis of this meeting came about where I attended a meeting several months ago, a selectmen's meeting that Senator Rogers and Representative had attended, and we started talking a little bit. And what came about was an invitation to the senator to join us for the Master Plan Implementation Committee to get a flavor of what it is that we do and to get a better understanding of the master plan. So the master plan, Senator, we've been working on this for many, many years, and we put a lot of hours and a lot of time. The input in that is on the master plan has come directly from not only our committee, but the committees in town, but most importantly, the citizens of Lakeville. So this is a long-term strategic plan for the town. So I'm not sure if you had the opportunity at some point for you to read the plan, if you've had that opportunity or not. But if you like, I could read an introduction to it. If you're amenable, I would ask you, what would you like to do, sir?
Yeah, I think you reading the introduction and maybe touching on the points that you think I along with my colleague Rep Oral can be helpful, in implementing any of the measures in the plan.
Sure. So we'll go ahead and I'll read the introduction first, and then we can probably open it up to the team if we want to talk a little bit more about what can be done at your level and Representative Oral. So the introduction to the master plan. Lakeville designed its 2020 master plan to be a concise, easy to understand document, and it consists of the following chapters: Lakeville's vision, land use, housing, economic development, natural and cultural resources, open space and recreation, service and facilities, transportation and circulation, and then the implementation. So each chapter contains all the main information needed to explore and address its subject matter. This process begins by introducing key planning information that explains the topic at hand and identifies relevant issues and opportunities for Lakeville. Then, each chapter proposes goals that can solve problems and promote opportunities. Finally, each chapter then presents strategies to achieve its goals. Each strategy contains important details, including the main steps to take, the lead party or who's in charge, state and federal programs to pursue, required time and resources, and recommended partnerships. In addition to using current and accurate data, this document responds directly to public input. Lakeville's residents and Master Plan Implementation Committee members contributed these invaluable ideas at numerous meetings, and at 5 public workshops. These events took place over the course of 24 months and are described in detail in the next chapter. In summary, by relying on public input and clear information, the town intends for the plan to be transparent and accurate. By designing the plan to progress from key planning information to related goals and strategies, the town intends for the document to read like simple instructions. Now it's up to the residents and all elected and appointed officials to read and plan and use it to guide the important decisions about the future of Lakeville. So that is the introduction to the plan. We have a matrix that goes along with the plan, with the as it's as it's stated, the responsible parties. We've been working on this for, I don't know, Rita, how many years has it been now? I mean, I've been on the committee for what, 14, 15? So this has been going on a long time. Unfortunately, with COVID hit, that kind of put a bit of a speed bump with the implementation, but much to our surprise, what we learned actually during COVID were there were many accomplishments. And it brought to light the importance of updating those accomplishments in a matrix to show to the residents of Lakeville exactly what we're doing, what's been done, and to show them progress. I think what's important is we don't want this to be static, to be in a binder, and just to have dust on it. It's very, very much actionable items in the plan, and I think it's important to spread the word at your level if you can. Whoever can help us at your level and also at Representative Orals, that would be greatly appreciated. But I would like to stop there for one moment and ask, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions about the plan or the what can be done at your level?
Well, first of all, I commend you for sticking at it for 14 years because so many communities do go through an exercise of updating their quote unquote master plan, and then the update sits on a shelf collecting dust for the next decade until they decide to update it again. The role that I can play in helping you is first and foremost, serving as a facilitator with any state agencies or departments that you need to interface with. The legislature does not make a lot of the decisions or implement the programs that you're probably are going to be looking to utilize. That's an executive branch purview. But we, and I say we because Rep. Oral and I certainly both know our way around, the state bureaucracy to help open the doors and to make sure you're having the meetings, people are listening to you. We can't force them to say yes to your questions, but we can ensure that they're actively listening and engaged with you. The other thing right now to keep in plan, and I don't know what specific action items you're looking at to implement in the near future, but there's a lot of money around right now and will be in the foreseeable future for infrastructure. We on a state level have about $5 billion of so-called ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan money, that's sitting in our account that we are, as we speak, engaged in a listening process. It's going to be open. It's going to be transparent. It's going to be thoughtful. We're not going to rush to get this money out the door. We have time, but it will be focused on infrastructure, one-time needs and expenses that is going to position the Commonwealth better into the 21st century. On the same token, local municipalities received about $4 billion in ARPA money. I'm not sure what Lakeville got, over $1 million though. So there's local money that could be used to leverage on federal money, and Congress is about to enact a $3 trillion infrastructure plan above and beyond the ARPA dollars. So what I've been, when asked by my community's advice, is to use the ARPA money to engineer, design, permit any sort of major infrastructure upgrade in your community, whether it's water or sewer or broadband, expansion of broadband access to allow businesses to expand, because when the infrastructure bill passes in the Senate, I was around back in 2008 when the ARRA funds under President Obama, when that money hit the streets. Basically, it went to shovel-ready projects. You had to, I mean, you couldn't say, "Oh, we're almost," we just have another year left of permitting and engineering and design, and then we'll be shovel-ready, because they'll tell you, talk to us in a year. If we have any money left, we'll consider it. We're going to get the money on the street as quickly as possible. So, I don't know, and I don't profess to know what Lakeville is looking at in terms of infrastructure expansion. I know Ari and I had a conversation this afternoon about some transportation projects in town. Those are a lot more difficult because our transportation infrastructure is so, in Massachusetts, it's so large, it's so aged, and needs so much deferred maintenance that unless you are in the top 200 of the most dangerous intersections in the state, you're not going to see any. It's going to be difficult to see any money in the short term. So I'm done rambling. So I'd love to answer questions, and I'll love to turn it over because Rep. All and I work very, very closely together. I mean, we're a team. And
Yeah, we have, hey, Norm, welcome to the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you for joining. Do you have any, and then we do have a question from Rita Garbett, but would Rita, go ahead, please.
Just wondering about the traffic signal at Bridge Street and Route 105. I
Yep.
know there was money and we've had more accidents there this week.
Yep, we have. There's money in the transportation bond bill. That's what Ari and I talked about today. But you're a ways off before we can access any of that money. You've got to get the design work done and planned and permitted and everything before that would be the governor, the chief executive officer, and the secretary of transportation that would slot that in. But you're not going to borrow the money to spend it until it's ready to spend, right? And you've got some work left before it's ready to spend.
Rita, MassDOT's recommendation on that was that we put it in as a TIP project, start move that process. That's slow though, and I don't know, how much I like that, but if it's what they're recommending, if it gets accepted as a TIP project, then we're going to have to do the design work, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I'll jump in. Along MassDOT, what in a lot of the state agencies are doing these days is when there is money available, rather than for projects like that, unless, as the senator said, unless they're like the worst of the worst, top ones in the state, they're slow to put it on into any program to put a signal in, for instance. Their point has been Bridge Street does meet the warrants for a signal, but it doesn't mean that they will immediately go put it. So they also mentioned that, if the town, as the senator's referring to, would take on similar to Route 79, some of the design work, some of the upfront work, and then even pursue the construction, then the monies that's in the bond bill would be available to the town. Now, the difficulty with that is that means the town has to do the procurements for design, procurements for, similar to the Route 79 project, right of ways if there's needed, and so on. And then the funding will come along. So we would all like to have just the state DOT come out and do the project soup to nuts. It's their road, but that's not happening, like I say, unless they're the absolute worst. We have a data-driven governor, and he looks at the data, and when it's time, the data says to do some of these infrastructure projects, that's when they put more effort into it. Similar for the 105 and Route 18, the DOT came out and did a road safety audit last winter, I believe, and there's some recommendations. They did do an early action of some repaving there, but we all know that's another one where we're seeing a lot of accidents. Personally, I believe it's because I remember when there wasn't a signal there and all those islands were set up to work with stop signs. And when they put the signal in, they didn't change the islands. So you have some geometric issues with people coming from the library, say, on Precinct Street, are offset to the people coming from Assawamsett on Main Street. So left turns get confused because they're not face to face like you would have in a normal signalized intersection. So, as the senator said, there's several things we can do to help. One is the money part and helping pursue money, pursue grants. And as he mentioned, there's been quite a bit of money out there, and there's going to be even more, we hope and suspect, and actually already is. So most of that is in form of grants. And when it comes to this committee and economic development, and not only just the infrastructure to improve situations like Bridge Street or Route 18, where we're having accidents, I think this committee in its recommendations can look at, where do we need infrastructure to help the economic development side? And, for you, Governor Baker's had a set of grants available for almost 8 years now, Mass Works grants. And those, and I'm sure Ari benefited from those at his former municipality. And those are really set up just as a starting point to fund infrastructure that will help you attract and get the business that you want. So it's been used for water lines, sewer lines, upgrades. And I think they usually are used when there is a known developer who's bringing a certain amount to the table. And then this is the town's way of bringing their part to the table with state funds. So there's that program's been around a while. I believe there'll be even new programs coming out of housing and economic development with the ARPA money. And beyond that, when it comes to the federal infrastructure bill, I know on the House side, all the members have been speaking with leadership about, some of the needs in our district. And these intersections I just brought up, those are certainly ones that I brought to the House leadership. And, again, with the thinking that we want to get ahead of this. And, when there's lots of money on infrastructure, we want it to go to good projects, real projects. And I think we all recognize that the shovel ready wasn't the best approach because only certain projects were available at that time, truly shovel ready. I think Lakeville did get some money, Rita, if I'm correct, for the water tower that benefits Taunton now. But at any rate, at the time we got some loans or money from that. Does that sound right?
We were shovel ready.
Yeah, because it was shovel ready. But that's tough, right? Because you don't want to go out and spend the money on design and engineering and right away, only to sit on all of that and wait for money to come. So I think what we're trying to do collectively in the Mass legislature is get ahead of things and try to steer it more towards projects that people have been waiting, lifetimes for. your 14 years on this committee, what are the things that, over 14 years, you just never have been able to achieve infrastructure wise, that sort of thinking. And I mean, if things continue on the track, that's the sort of thinking we all have to do, and collectively, and to help get it done. And just one more example, I was part of the master plan rewrite in 2000. Before, and then you took over to implement it, Rodney, I think. But so we had a brief section on pedestrian access in the year 2000 version of the master plan. And so, and what we had done as a committee is looked at Main Street. There was a sidewalk on one side. When you get to Middleborough, it was dicey at best on the north side of the road, and non-existent on the south side of the road. So there was a blurb in there about, providing better access. And by having that in there, the former representative for Lakeville was able to, with the Route 79 intersection, when that was put in by CVS, that put some sidewalk in. But then they came along to do, I forget the next intersection, but somehow the DOT through the years was going to leave out a section of sidewalk. And so she was able to use the master plan to get the DOT to go back, make the change. So now we have a fully connected sidewalk all the way from Middleborough on the south side. And, small things like that, but if it's in the master plan, it does give legislators, gives us that opportunity to say, well, it's not just a one-off thought in the middle of the night. This is something the town has, been pursuing. So if that gives you a sense.
And Norm, my concern with Bridge Street is the funeral home is within months of opening.
Yep.
We've got the storage, the warehouse, and now a big storage facility going on the other side. So by the time we get it designed,
Was any of those developers asked to help participate?
I'm not sure what the
Traffic
plan.
improvement? Because oftentimes when there's new development going into a particular area. I'm thinking in Westport and Dartmouth, the Lincoln Park development. That developer, part of the permitting process, but they were responsible for making the safety upgrades on Route 6 and 177. So.
Well, National Development years ago, they were going to put in the light. I don't know if the planning board talked to these developers, if there's, maybe Jack knows.
Jack has a question. Jack Lynch?
To respond to Rita's question, not to my knowledge, Rita. I mean, in all of the correspondence and in the conversations we've had with the self-storage folks, not to mention the Rhino folks next door in the big distribution center, that I don't think that subject has ever come up. My question to Senator Rodriguez and Representative Oral is, can you give us an update on where we stand on the repaving of 79, Route 79?
So the reality is that's a town project that is state funded, at least the widening portion. The rest of 79 from Clear Pond Road towards 105, that's purely town. And I don't know where that is in the program, but the Route 79 project from the Taunton line to Clear Pond Road is so the town did the design. My understanding is that's still ongoing. There's right of way to be purchased. So it actually would be the town that could answer the schedule.
Okay, yeah, because I thought it was just the state was involved as well.
They are. They're just so. Again, this gets back to one of my statements earlier. Is the way the state has been approaching things in the last 20, 10, 15 years anyway, has been kind of to rely on the municipalities to do the work, and they'll provide funding to match the work that the town does. So because even though it's a routed road, Route 79 is town owned. So the state's providing funding.
Okay, because I was led to believe it was going to start this year, and obviously nothing has happened, so.
I can, Ari might know when it's gonna start, but it is an approved tip project. And I'm not sure if it's 21 or 22 that it's,
I don't think we have, I don't think we have a start date for it yet.
okay,
But to answer your question, I think it had been scheduled for this year, and then there needed to be a town vote. And I think the town voted no at one point.
oh, they voted yes.
You voted yes, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's all.
I missed. But somehow there was a vote that kind of slowed things up, and kind of, once that happened, it kind of knocked the schedule off, is my understanding.
So Rep. Earl, I have a question with regards to going back to the data and the definition of dangerous intersections.
Mhm.
What defines a dangerous intersections? Is it death per capita? Is it death per, is it number of accidents, or what's the actual thing that,
Yeah,
because if we know what was just stated with regards to our concerns, we're a small town, so we need to know what, get higher on the list. If you say 200, but if the definition is not within reach, it doesn't sound like there's much that can be done for really for a while.
Yeah, I don't know what all of the factors are when MassDOT uses to rank the intersections. I do believe, so certainly number of accidents is a factor. I think severity of accidents is a factor. So we may see a lot of accidents at Bridge Street, but if there are other intersections with fatalities, even though it's the same number of accidents, when you look quickly at the data, the severity could come along and factor things up higher. And it's just a reality that there's a lot of bad intersections across the Commonwealth. And you talk about small towns. Our colleagues in Western Mass and the Berkshires, where there's 1,000, maybe 2,000 people that live there, and they get the same sort of Chapter 90 money. There's so little money to spend with the town. They may have a bridge that they just can't, that's closed, and but there's only 50 people a day that use the road. So from the state standpoint, it's not a high traffic road. So your point is valid that there are times to, look at how the analysis is done. But realistically, these intersections in Lakeville, no, they're not really rising up. But I'd have to get from DOT what the exact definition or what they use to rank the dangerous intersections.
That'd be appreciated if you could, because I think it might help us. Rita, you have a question, or?
If I could just add on
Ahead.
a little bit to that, just first, because I think Norman was right. It is number of traffic accidents, severity of traffic accidents. They're weighted, of course, with fatalities being the heaviest weight. And now I'm looking at Caitlin, my Rhino. I might introduce Caitlin Rowley, who's a Lakeville resident, who's my district director. Caitlin, maybe we can get through District 5, the list of the top 200 intersections most dangerous around the Commonwealth, so that you can see them, and you might even know some of them. There might even be some in our region. There probably are, but the data comes from the police, from police reports. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Rita, you have a question or comment?
Serpent has it on the website,
Oh,
the
okay.
most dangerous intersections. I'm not sure if it's for the whole state, but definitely for the 27 communities that they cover. And it
Okay.
gives all the reason, what makes them, but you can get it on the Serpent website.
Thank you.
Serpent is an amazing resource.
Yes.
And Serpent has a real handle and knowledge of the bureaucracy, that is required for doing business with the government, because in this world of accountability, where we want to ensure accountability on how and where our tax dollars are spent, that means collecting data and reporting on data and being open and transparent with that data. So SERP is very good at it. It's frustrating at times, we just want to get things done. But it's in the world of accountability, we need to follow a certain process.
And I also think, Rodney, I think traffic volumes is part of the equation too. So, as much as we think it's a high volume compared to a Boston intersection or a Brookline or any of the suburbs up there that are, just wall-to-wall traffic during rush hour, those also are part of the factors.
I appreciate that. It still affects the lives of the individuals that are getting in these accidents, no matter how minor. It's an inconvenience. Sometimes there's injury, but there's a cost. There's a financial cost. Sometimes there's an emotional cost to the accident. Obviously the safety. So there's costs, and I'm just not sure if what we can do to increase the weight is what I hear both of you telling me, the weight of the data to get us higher, on that list. I just know that it's been a problem for a long time. Everyone knows it's been a problem for a long time. So it's just at what point, what's the threshold? Yes, the 200, but we certainly don't want to see fatalities at all. But if there's anything that can be done, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I think we're doing with getting money in the transportation bond for Bridge Street. The center was right on top of that, is getting some funding made available to the DOT. Then it becomes up to them to how it gets spent and when. And we're both constantly reminding DOT of these intersections. Like I say, when on the House side we brought up, started trying to get ahead of the federal money. That's where I certainly brought up to them 105 and 18 as needing funding in a project that could move forward. So, I mean, those are the things we just do. We're doing it, every day for our districts. And it is frustrating that, but you do have to stop and think about, those other, there's limited resources, and the DOT is dealing with intersections elsewhere that have had the fatalities and continue to. So, but that doesn't mean we won't keep making it sound like it needs to be the next one done.
Right. Appreciate it. Does any of the team members have any comments or questions?
I think Mr. Rogers has his hand up.
Jim, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I do. Well, it's more a comment than anything else. While I understand the infrastructure is extremely important to all of us in this situation, but Representative Orr, you were on this committee back in 2000. Yep. There are many, many more sections that have not been even touched today. We start talking about conservation, veterans benefits, and other types of situations that are very important to this town. Besides, excuse the expression, besides the driveway or the street. And a lot of times we talk about grants, and a lot of times we talk about going looking for money. Having the opportunity to, find some applicable monies that are available to purchase land in order to be able to conserve it for the benefit of the townspeople and lot. And our issue more is asking for the help to find those grants, find those monies, and to assist us in whether it's changing the law, changing the rules, but to make it much more available to us in that kind of a situation. And, we have to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, can you help us? And I think we've been I'll say the committee itself has been reluctant to include some of those things in the plan, only because we're trying to do it within the town.
Right.
What we're doing now by bringing the two of you together is to say we have to step outside the town. We have to go looking to you to help us sort of convince people that conservation of land, conservation of water resources is important, and we need your help in that kind of situation. That's my 5 cents worth.
Yeah, well said. Thank you.
Remind me, does Lakeville have the CPA?
No CPA in Lakeville.
No, Lakeville, okay. No, okay.
There is a,
Okay,
Mike, there is a committee. They're hoping that we're going to have it. It's failed at the polls twice in 06 and 2012.
okay,
This committee is hoping that it will make the warrant for the fall town meeting.
okay.
And one of my questions always is, that we can help with, as you mentioned. What are there specific, so, if it's conservation of land, are there specific properties that the town has identified? If it's water resources, are there specific areas of town that, as a master plan committee have been identified by the town? Funding is kind of the second part, identifying the potential lands, I guess you would say, or whatever the issue, or it can even go by economic development. If the town identifies, for years it's been the state hospital property, and that was one of the main points identifying. And I know the senator in his years would go to bat trying to find, look for people and always mention it as far as a development opportunity. What are the other areas of town that we can help? Because what helps us is to have specific properties in mind, specific projects in mind, or specific things you want to see happen in mind, that then we know when we see something for funding, or we see a developer looking for something, or something that's coming out of housing and development or one of the other agencies for grants, then we can shoot an email to Ari or whoever and say, hey, I know you guys are looking at XYZ. Does this fit? So, and that's what helps us is the community. This is why this is great, because we get to talk to you guys straight on and hear from you.
I appreciate that. No, talk about economic development. Lakeville, once you read, the senator, if he hasn't had the opportunity yet, or Caitlin, to read. Thank you, Patrick. I'll get to you in one moment. Thank you. But to read the master plan with regards to the economic development and housing, I know if my memory serves, we are not. I'm going to say memory. I can say this for truth. We are not in favor of high density housing in Lakeville. It's just it contradicts the rural character. It contradicts what the citizens of Lakeville have said for years now, and it's in the master plan. And to have the the feel of Lakeville, we want to avoid that. That type of housing. So that's why we have things in, the type of developments that we have. And when, the type of developers, and I know that, sorry? Someone have a comment? No, sorry, my apology. So with regards to the, the housing situation, developers, I know that Lakeville does not have, at least from the planning board's perspective, to my understanding, we don't have, say, design guidelines like Cape Cod, as an example, to help maintain that rural character. And as we grow, and we grow appropriately, to have that balance between business and residential, the consistent message is we're trying to manage that growth, but also avoid the high density housing. And I just want to make sure that if there's monies for that, which there may be, again, I haven't read the infrastructure plan that's being proposed, or the information that you had mentioned earlier with the monies that are available at the state level. But is that something that we could discuss at your level, maybe in a future meeting, once I do a little bit more research to see what's available to us for say business development as an example, that's going to be in line with the master plan. Is that something that would be amenable to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Norman mentioned earlier the Mass Works grant, and he also mentioned earlier that Governor Bacon, his administration, are very data driven, and the number one matrix on any economic development grant is jobs created. So, it's if not for this water
Your bandwidth is
line
little
or
low,
sewer
Senator.
line or even transport. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about that.
That's okay.
Maybe if I shut my video off.
I had to
Okay.
move room
All right.
because I was having the same problem.
Oh,
There you go.
oh,
Thank you,
all
sir.
right. But yeah, we can definitely have conversations. I can tell you another priority of the governor, as a matter of fact, he wanted to put a lot of the ARPA money on the street already, is in higher density residential development. And as you said, that's not what Lakeville wants. I can tell you in my home community of Westport, it's not what we want, but that's what he wants, so there are other, but other than, how the other areas that there's going to be a lot of focus is on water and sewer. I don't know if there's any infrastructure projects that are needed for water and sewer in Lakeville, but that's going to be a major focus. The other major focus that's articulated in the ARPA funds, specifically articulated, is broadband access. I mean, nothing highlighted that more than this pan. Here we are. I have weak internet signal. So that's the way it is out here in the sticks of Westport. I'm lucky to have this.
Right.
So those are areas also that we can be helpful with. They might be less controversial than housing. Housing can be very controversial. As far as open space and conservation land, that is something I know quite a bit about because, once again, of all my years of working in Westport, that really requires a partnership. The most successful, conservation land projects is when there's a state, local nonprofit money. I'm going to shut my video off. Maybe that will help. That's what's helpful. Then we have the conservation land tax credit, but that usually takes a land trust. And we have the Westport Land Trust in Westport. Dartmouth's got the Dartmouth Land Trust, but these land trusts are professionals in knowing how to identify the parcels of land that they want to, that have priority protection parcels. Much of it is around the watershed, and know how to pool the money and put all the pieces together in order to assemble those parcels.
Yeah.
Ari, you're on. Ari, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Hey, Ronnie.
Okay.
So one thing, just to add to what the Senator was saying, I also believe ARPA encourages outdoor recreation infrastructure as well as to the extent that it mitigates the need for indoor gathering, things like that. So one of the things I've been looking at on the side as we're getting ready for this, and there will have to be a process when it comes to ARPA and how you use that money, because it is the town's going to get about $1.5 million. And then if we get then whatever Plymouth sends our way, it could be as much as another $2 million. It's a good amount of money for us. And but that we do have a number of potential park projects that might benefit from this as well, which I think could be one thing to look at when it comes to use of those funds. Just throwing it out there.
And
Thank you.
And this is where I put my plug in for back in the late 1990s when we were preparing the 2000 version. And a great Lakeville resident, Kevin St. George, brought up a potential park at the corner of Route 18 and 105 on the corner with Assawamsett. And where that we were identifying as a center of town, basically, for lack of any other center of town. And I've always thought that was a great idea. It would require working with the city of Taunton, I believe, who might be the landowner there, partially Lakeville with the past Swampset maybe. But I always put a plug in for that park. And Kevin, I see him still around town, and it was just such a great idea. I just have to put the plug in.
Well, hey, it sounds reasonable. That's great. But yeah, so moving forward, there's a lot to do, of course. I think this is a step in the right direction. Meeting both of you tonight, we would, offer just an open invitation to join these meetings. I know you're both busy. Your time is valuable. We do appreciate your time and understanding that. But we are open to all comers, and especially you two. We'd love to have you more, join us more often. And these updates, and we'd like to really, highlight what we've done. Again, it's in the matrix I was saying earlier, which we're going to discuss later. But the matrix really shows it's a roadmap of what we've done as a town, and in hopes that once we get this master plan, implemented, that it'll be time for refresh. And we, in a few years, what we don't want to do is let it get stale. We want to keep it fresh. We want to keep it updated in almost near real time as we can. Okay. Excuse me for 1 second. Jose, are you asking me to do the video?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. Stand by. All right. Is that better?
You need to speak so we can tell.
I am speaking right now.
It's a little better.
Okay. My apology. I'm on the, I'm not on the application. So hopefully if I speak a little louder, that would be a little bit better for everybody.
Something's going on tonight, because I never have trouble. And like I say, I had to move rooms because it was, as soon as I logged in, it was breaking up. So
Yeah, it could be because I know I have issues typically with regards to the audio, but it seems like video tonight also. So hopefully we can rectify this in the future with maybe some of that broadband money that's coming Lakeville's way here in the near future. So.
Rodney, just if I may, I just wanted to add in really quick the comment about the conservation. The Open Space Committee, at least when I was on it, did recognize, and I believe sent to the Board of Selectmen at that time, at least 4 years ago, the parcels of land that they considered of importance to the town, should they become available, or should, a developer wish to develop. And I'm sure they've kept it updated, or it'd be easy to update that. Those parcels, I believe you had said it, Norm, as far as just if lands were available. I do know that parcels were listed as far as priority parcels. Most of them you could probably figure out what they were along the river, the golf courses, etc. As important to the community for conservation and whatnot.
Yep. So if that's, again, if that's a list that has been updated and can be sent over to help us identify. And, resiliency, climate change issues, those are also going to be, areas that the town's already seeing some grant monies and a lot of work being done on the APC. And I think a lot of work is going to come out of that. For the first time, we've seen it start with an actual project, a little pilot project for weed removal in the Nemasket River, and that improves, it hits all the check marks as far as improving not only the fish habitat and the water flow for flooding, but it also, creates better recreation opportunities. And I know, Patrick, you probably don't get out on the water much, but
No, not at all.
but for those that do, no, Patrick is always out there. So, that's a great thing that's going on. If the master plan committee hasn't been following, to certainly get involved with that and speak up with those projects too. There's a series of public hearings coming up through the fall to talk about various projects to make improvements throughout the complex. So there's a lot to do. I know it's been 14 years, Rodney, but you still got some more work to do.
No, this is a never-ending. This is a never-ending job, which is a good thing. I mean, I enjoy what I do. Had I not, I wouldn't be, on the committee. As long as I have a vested interest. I've been here for a long time, like you and your family, and most everyone, that's on the committee. So I appreciate that.
Of course, I'm not even going to ask Joe Chamberlain how long he's been on town board.
Joe, if you want to unmute and answer the question, you're welcome. But if not, I understand.
14 years for Joe's that's just a warm up,
right?
Well, actually, not that long. I think 62 owned the land, and my 78 acres is under Chapter 61B. So I'm doing my bit for open land.
There you go.
Yep.
Unbelievable. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. So in the interest of time, we've gone about 52 minutes now. Do you have either Norm or the senator? Do you have any questions? Any concerns? Do the team members have any additional information for State Rep Oral or Senator Rodericks at this time?
I'm all set.
All right. Well, thank you all. We really appreciate.
Let me just chime in to say thank you very much for.
Oh.
I heard chime in.
Let me shut my video off to see if that's better. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me say thank you very much for inviting me, and know that whatever you need, just reach out. As I introduced Caitlin, she's my she's the one that keeps me out of trouble in the district. Hopefully keeps me out. So far, she's doing a hell of a job while I'm in the State House every day. She's a Lakeville resident, and we are always available and accessible. Just don't assume we know the problems of the issue. Feel free to reach out, give us a call, a text, an email, anytime. We're here to work with you and to help.
Well, we appreciate it. And again, we appreciate your time. We know it's valuable, and it is greatly appreciated that you take time out of your evening to spend with the Master Plan Implementation Committee. So thank you again.
No, thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Be well.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night now. All right, moving forward, I'd like to introduce our newest Master Plan Implementation Committee member, our town administrator, Ari Sky.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you. It's official now, correct?
As far as I know, I got sworn in and everything.
All right, good. That's a good thing. So we appreciate that. So let's, we have a few more agenda items. I know this is typically, these things can drag on, but I think it's been a really good meeting this evening. We're going to go ahead and move forward, and hopefully we won't be here too much longer. So I'd like to change gears a little bit. Now we've introduced Ari. We thank you very much for joining us. And next agenda item is to approve the meeting minutes for June 23rd. Has everyone had the opportunity to read the minutes? And if so, do we have a motion?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Rita Garbutt.
Second.
Second by Jim Rogers. All in favor? Aye. Rodney Dixon? Aye.
Garbutt, aye.
Chamberlain, aye.
Jack Lynch, aye.
Marshall abstain.
Jim Rogers, aye.
Thank you.
Sky abstain.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's go to our next item. All right, so update from Chairman Dixon regarding the Development Opportunities District, or the DOD. So for clarification, there was a comment that was made a couple of meetings ago that needed clarification. Again, we did it in real time. It came to our attention via a comment on Facebook. For clarification, the DOD is still in place. So as such, it will remain as part of the master plan until such time it no longer exists. If you have any questions about the DOD, any further clarification needed other than it's in place and will be for the foreseeable future? Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. So discuss the next agenda items, discuss the updates to the master plan implementation chart, or the matrix as we call it. So I had an opportunity to meet with Ari Sky on Monday. We had a brief but productive meeting to talk about the matrix. So we made some changes to the matrix in way of terminology and specifically the lead party and other responsible parties. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to Ari Sky just to comment briefly on what changes were made. Ari?
Thanks very much, Rodney. So the main thing we're trying to do, or I was trying to do, was clarify the lead parties and other responsible parties, sort of the support network that's being put in place to support the implementation of the master plan. In some cases there were terms that are no longer operative, like the town coordinator. As you know, that position doesn't exist anymore. So there's we have a new position, assistant to the town administrator, which is taking some of these things. Also, we're in the process of hiring a town planner, and the town planner will will have a really central role in supporting the implementation committee's work. So we wanted to clarify that. And then, in a few places where the board is listed as a lead party and probably more appropriate as another responsible party and so on, put that in and just try to clarify a few things. So nothing that I put in I consider set in stone. I'm not speaking from on high. I was just trying to be accurate in terms of the portrayal and representation. I've sent a version to Rodney, and I think Rita has it as well, which shows where we struck out things and where we added in, so that everyone can see what it looks like pretty easily and what changes, if any, were. And I'm happy to answer any questions on it after people have had a chance to look at it and gone through things, and either offline or during the meeting. Either way is fine. I'm comfortable either way.
Any questions? Yes, Rita, you're on mute.
So Ari, did you change any of the strategies or the
No.
complement? Okay.
I didn't touch them. Rita, all I tried to do was look at the support structure. That was it.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So we did have during our meeting, again, it was albeit brief but productive. We did talk about responsible parties, and then a follow-up to our meeting on August 9th with the selectmen. That meeting, of course, was called, as we know, by the selectmen. They needed some clarification about roles and responsibilities. My subsequent meeting with Ari, I just made a comment that who has the authority, and this is why the matrix is important with the responsible party, but who has the authority to encourage certain committees, boards, and others to really step up and get done what needs to get done in a timely fashion. We understanding that some of what we've asked for takes time. We understand that as a committee, but there's been things that have been hanging for if not months, years. One of the examples I use, and I've used it repeatedly, and I'll repeat it again this evening, is like on the design, like Cape Cod. We have these guidelines for the developers when they come in. Does it meet and if we say Cape Cod style, we all know what we're talking about. We've all been to Cape Cod. We understand what the style is and whatnot. We don't really have that in Lakeville. And I know there was some concern if we did something like that as a town, it might drive away developers, or it might create an unfriendly developer. I don't believe that. I believe if we have certain guidelines, that if they're well thought out, and we really, excuse me, something. Is that me, or was that? Sorry about that. My apology. With regards to the hold on, I'm having a cough. My apologies. But in regards to the design, I don't think it's going to drive away developers. I don't think it's going to make them unfriendly. I think if any developer worth their salt coming into a town that wants to do business with the town, if the town has these guidelines in place and they're well thought out and they are adopted appropriately, I see no problem with it. But I'm one person. But I would ask respectfully that as we move forward in this process, and Ari has heard this from me, as did the selectmen, I think, on Monday, whoever's the responsible party to encourage these committees to do what needs to get done. We've waited long enough. I think it's time. So if I'm off base, let me know, but I feel pretty strong about this, that we really, in order to make this the best that we can do, is the responsible parties need to now do what they need to do, their part. Anybody feel differently about that? I mean, are we all online? Am I off base? Or yes, Rita?
Well, for me, the number one goal for the planning board right now should be design guidelines. It's been in our master plan since '05, and we can.
Yeah, I remember it being there when I first joined the committee,
and I know a town planner is coming on board, but my suggestion would be, as we said during the selectmen's meeting, is maybe first meet with the planning board to go over some of their different projects. Maybe Jack can talk to them to either we get on their agenda, or, if we meet in September, maybe we could have the planning board attend our meeting and talk, maybe pick 4 or 5 of their strategies.
Well, Rita, when you get through, I'll respond.
Okay, I'm done.
After our meeting with the selectmen, I went back to Mark Knox and the planning board. We had a meeting last week, and I addressed your concerns about, because some of the committees, what are the committees doing and what are the boards doing? And the zoning and the planning board is working on zoning bylaws and to create a new industrial zone. And getting back to the design criteria for the town, we've obviously worked on the Lakeville Hospital project. We spent a tremendous amount of time in meetings, and that I'm sure all of you are aware of on that. And then we did the self-storage that's going to be next door. And then we did the Domino's Pizza across the street. And then we're continually involved in virtually all of our last few meetings have been totally consumed in residential development. And so I just wanted to make sure, I conveyed Rich LaCamera's concerns to Mark Knox at the last meeting, which I did. And he in turn said, just to convey back to the master plan folks that we are working on the zoning bylaws into creating a new industrial zones so that industry can develop more, most of the industrial zones we have right now are completely full. We're trying to identify new ones and get those created and get the zoning bylaws in place to allow that more creation of industry and commercial development in the future.
So Jack, and Rita has a question too. What I would ask, no, can it not be done simultaneously for the design plan? I mean, because if we're doing it piecemeal, like you just mentioned, the projects you just mentioned,
Right.
would it not be wise to have a design plan so when these projects come up, we already have it in place and we can say to the developers, here's the plan, here are the guidelines, and it would, in my opinion only, I think it would help streamline the process versus, because we're gonna have to look at or look at each project anyway. Is that something that the planning board would consider or could actually do?
I surely will communicate that to Mark and the planning board when we meet next time. I surely will do that. I mean, obviously, I think I can say, you know, I'm just speaking for myself, that the distribution center that's going to go in place in front of in lieu of the Lakeville Hospital, who will not have much design criteria incompatible with Lakeville. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Right. So do you not think though, if we had the design in place like we should have a long time ago, that we could have avoided that?
Like Walgreens, I think you brought up Walgreens.
I've used the Walgreens
Yep.
Example ad nauseum.
Yeah, I think
It was mostly done, and you know, someone made, you know, I'm just generalizing, but made a comment. Well, it's too bad we couldn't have the New England style.
well, I think we could have done that. You know, maybe we should have done that. And I'm not, you know, I'm only speaking for myself, and I'm a newcomer to the town at the planning board. But yeah, maybe the self-storage unit next door could have been that way. And I don't believe.
But if we don't, and Rita has her hand up. I defer to Rita.
Well, the design guideline is a zoning bylaw. It's part of our zoning bylaw. So I think, you know, now we've got the warehouse with no design guidelines, a storage facility, which isn't going to look very nice right on Main Street, the dollar store. I think that the planning board can work on both of them at the same time, especially if you're going to come up with a new industrial or business or commercial district. You need to have the guidelines where our industrial park, the LDC had guidelines.
I will
Okay.
I'll talk to Mark about that, and I will talk to Mark privately about that, and also bring it up at the next planning board meeting.
So on the next planning board meeting, if you, when you do mention it, what we'd like to see is either the master plan implementation committee be invited to the planning board, or the master plan invite the planning board to one of our meetings. But if you could please say that.
Why don't you, I will have Mark invite you folks to come, whoever you decide, Rodney, or Rita, to come to the meeting, okay?
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
Do that.
We
All right.
appreciate that.
Yep, I'll do that. I'll call Mark tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
We appreciate that. Yes, Rita.
And I don't mean to take up all the time. I don't know how the other board members feel, but to me, that's like the number one priority in this matrix. I don't know how Jim and Patrick and Ari feel. Oh, Joe.
Yeah, speak up, please. I mean,
I don't disagree with you, Rita, at all on that. I mean,
I'll communicate whatever you guys want to Mark and the rest of the board. You tell me what you want, I'll do it.
I don't disagree either. I would say that I think this is more of a defensive move, but I think the housing side needs to be dealt with soon, and the economic development piece as well. You know, these are all kind of a piece in my mind. And granted, I'm the new guy, and I'm just seeing things over the course of 3 months here. But you know, so many of these issues that we're seeing, there was a perception that boards have fallen short. A lot of it can be attributed to kind of the staffing situation as well. And I'm sorry, can you hear me? Sorry.
No, Ari, what did you say about housing? I'm not sure.
I said it's more of a defensive move, but I think housing is something that we need to be looking. The housing pieces on the matrix are really important as well. and as well as economic development too. But what I was trying to say was that so many of these of the issues that we see, sort of perception where things where boards have fallen short, to some degree can be attributed to the staffing situation as well. And that's something that we're really trying to deal with. I know we all know we need a planner. We're working hard to get one. We're not there yet, but we're trying. And I think not to say it's a magic bullet, but a competent planner would bring us a long way toward what we need as far as the capabilities go. Because a lot of this is a question of staff capability. You can't expect part-time boards to be able to have the time wherewithal to be able to direct this something without proper staff support. I think it's really important.
And yeah, I think, the Board of Selectmen meeting that I attended, I think Mia Fabian indicated that a lot of these committees are really woefully low on members. And it makes it difficult for them to get anything done because they don't have enough members. I will convey your concerns. I'll convey your concerns, everybody, to Mark and the planning board tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Thank you. Rita?
Ari, speaking of housing, with the 2020 census, have you received our new subsidized housing inventory? What percentage are we at?
No, we haven't received it yet. We've gotten the top line numbers on the census, but we haven't gotten the detail. We are working on this year's 40S report, but that's just the piece of the pie.
Right.
So yeah, no, we don't have that yet.
Okay. Because that's going to change. We know.
No, it just hasn't. I know we're waiting for it. Hasn't come yet.
We were doing pretty good, but now with the new housing numbers,
Yeah,
our percentage will come down.
yeah, probably.
But that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's unattainable. Is that just because of the nature of the beast? Is that, you're talking about the 10%, Rita?
Yes.
Because we've been talking about it for a long time. My understanding is it's such a moving target, it's unattainable.
The only way it's fully attainable is if you were to change your housing strategy entirely, and that's not something I would recommend.
That neither would I. That's what I'm talking about. So in the defensive posture, educate me. As long as we are making progress toward the 10% consistently, are we immune from we're not. We have to get the 10 or we're exposed. Is that what you're saying, Rita?
Well, Ari, you can correct me, but if you've got some projects approved in the works, you have, I believe you have a 1 or 2 year waiting period. I don't know if that's all changed since I retired, but I don't think we have any 40Bs or 40Rs in the works.
Right. What helped us out in the past was that we had stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know where we are exactly right now. I don't know if we're below 10% or just at 10% or where we are exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see.
So this all ties into about our rural character and our future vision.
Yep.
I know the CPA has been discussed a little bit. Rita had said that it's failed twice, and at town meeting twice. My understanding is I've seen the signs all over Lakeville, so now people are interested in the CPA again. That's definitely a component of trying to avoid some of this, where if those properties come up, we can afford as a town to purchase and then protect, then that would help us with our numbers. And then eventually you're going to run out of land where there's nothing going to be available to develop, whether it's protected or not. So I think that, these are all, they're all dovetailed. So,
Ari, would you like to attend the next planning board meeting?
Would I?
Yes. Would you like to do that?
I could.
Okay. I can send you the date and the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what purpose. I'm happy to if I'm doing it for the.
Well, I just thought maybe having just come on board, it might be beneficial for the planning board to see you, to hear you, and to express your vision for the town.
Yeah, I've actually met the majority of your membership already, but I'm happy to do that. And my vision for the town is the vision that's imparted to me by the governing body, so that's fine.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Any other comments about what we're discussing.
Rodney, let me just put in my 2 cents worth.
Yeah.
I
yes,
think
please.
Ari is correct. The lack of organization in the administration of the town, to some degree, without a planner, contributes to a lot of this. We're acting as independent committees, not as interactive, integrated committees in order to be able to accomplish things. We've each got our own little realm that we're dealing with, but that's not the way it has to be. And,
Right.
and the perception, I think, that where we're headed with this particular group is that there's a coordinating committee saying, okay, what the hell's going on? And what is being done? And that's where the town planner will be part of it. And that's where the administration will be part of it, to get everybody working towards a particular, pick a project, put a priority on it and start working on it so that all the groups are accomplishing something and not just working independently of each other and reporting once a month to some committee. That
Right,
I
doesn't
think,
work.
Jim,
All right.
Jim, I think you're right on board. I mean, obviously I'm new to the town and new to the planning board, but just being on the planning board, we seem to be, I mean, these people do a great job and God knows they're committed. It's unbelievable, the time that these all these members spend on the planning board, not to mention a whole bunch of other committees. But we seem to be somewhat insulated and just focused on what we do and
Right.
not, once again, integrated into the other committees. And as a matter of fact, I don't think we ever speak to or mention any of the other committees. We're just solely focused on the Lakeville Hospital, the storage place, the Domino's, all of the residential development that's going on. And that's pretty much fully consumes our meetings in all the work that we do. There's no other mention of the conservation committee or any of these other, or the master plan. I mean, obviously we try to stay in focus with the master plan, but it's pretty much insulated. You just focus on
it's what we call working in a silo, like Jim said.
It is.
We're working in our silos, and we need not to. And,
I mean, people are working like crazy, but they're working in the silo.
Right. So,
I think,
we've talked about this several times. We hope now that again, talking with Ari and having the opportunity for the town planner and other positions within Lakeville getting filled, that we can start to see some real change. So sorry, Ari, go ahead.
if I may, Ronnie, I mean, I think Jim's point is absolutely key. The pretty much everything that I've seen in the 3 months that I've been here and has really become my focus is a question of communication. The different departments need to work with each other. The boards need to communicate with each other. And that requires building networks and supporting them. One of the key roles of both of the new positions that we're bringing on, the assistant to the town administrator and the town planner, the key function is communication. The assistant to the town administrator, one of her jobs is going to be working as a liaison to boards and commissions, and making sure that we have, especially the operational ones like park commission and so on, make sure that they have the support they need in the direction and coordination. The planner is all about creating a network that will allow us to integrate support to the land development processes in the town as well. That's meant to implement the vision more than anything else in the master plan. And I can tell you, as someone who interviewed not that long ago for this job, that the master plan was a central part of the interview process. It was at the risk of giving the consultants methodology away, they after the initial screening, they had us do a questionnaire. It was really lengthy and intense essay questions, and one of the long essay questions was all about implementing the master plan. And we had to review Lakeville 2030, and we had to understand it, and we had to talk about what kind of things could be done to help implement the plan. And of course, one of the things I latched onto was the planner, some of the funding issues, things like CPA, as well as not that I'm advocating for CPA because I'm not, as well as some of the sort of communications and defining roles and so on. and policies. And so, I mean, I'm not blowing smoke when I say that this is, I see what this group is doing as being just kind of a citizen-based part of what the overall approach that we're trying to take inside the town government to try to, bring about better communication and increase our bandwidth so we can get some things done. So that's all. I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. I'm done.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. So moving forward, do we have any other questions about the chart, the matrix, anything about Ari, anybody else? Okay, thank you. So moving forward, the next meeting is scheduled for September 15th. I know that Ari will not be available to attend the 15th. Is there anybody else that is unable to attend for the 15th?
I don't think we actually scheduled it, Rodney. I had a question mark.
Well, not scheduled, but proposed.
Yeah,
Sorry, thank you for the clarification. Proposed of September 15th.
I apologize to the committee. I won't be able to make it. It's Yom Kippur. So
Anybody?
I'm fine.
Patrick, are you okay with the 15th?
I already penciled it in. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. You too?
I'm fine.
Yeah, me three. Okay.
Ari, what about, the selectmen going to continue now with the Delta variant? Are they going to continue in virtual meetings or
as far as I know.
for September?
Oh yeah, I think for a while. Yeah. They can do under the law, they can do it till, I believe, into April of 22 if they want
Right.
to. So there's been no discussion, nor has there been any desire that I've read anyway, on the part of the selectmen to start meeting in person until they have to.
Yeah, we wanted to start meeting in person, but now things have changed over the last couple of
Yeah,
months.
it's got a little sketchy. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so September 15th it is?
Yep.
Yes. Yes, please. We're amenable to that. Next agenda item is new business. Any new business to be brought before the committee? All right, hearing none. Is there any old business? Hearing none. Is there any other business that may properly come before the meeting? All right, hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
well,
Aye.
their names,
Got to have your names.
Garbett,
Jack, aye.
Joseph, I.
Patrick, aye.
Rodney
Jim Rogers,
Dixon,
aye.
Sky Eye.
All right,
Aye.
sorry, Jim, I spoke over you. My apology.
Jim Rogers, aye.
Thank you. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be
Take care,
well.
everybody.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, all.
Bye-bye.